What's up, guys? Paul from Golfers Authority. Welcome to the Behind the Golf Brand podcast. This week, I have my good buddy Nick from USGolfTV. I've been working with Nick. Nick is probably one of the first people I met when I started this journey like 4 years ago, for reals. So I've been working with these guys since the beginning. They're great guys. They have a really cool like journey, and kind of what they're doing is different than what I do, but they're doing it so well, and you guys need to know more about them. You might have already follow them on Instagram and YouTube, but I'm really excited to have him on the show and talk shop. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Nick.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, it's funny. It was just I want to say about 4 years ago, just a random email conversation back and forth talking about articles, and 4 years later, here we are talking podcasts. So
It's crazy.
It is, but it's fun. I like the idea of the whole premise of this, finding a little more about off the path brands and their backstories, because everybody's unique. Everybody's got an interesting story, and
I think I remember I wrote an article, and then I saw you guys wrote the same article. Right,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, okay, cool. It was like the GX7 or some
Probably something like that.
One of those clubs, right? I think I'm almost positive it was GX7,
Right.
right? And so I'm like, oh, that's cool. I wrote about it too. So then I reached out to you guys, and I saw your website, and I was like, oh, this is legit. Like, they're doing a really good job. First of all, US Golf TV has like so much instruction content, it's ridiculous. Like, which is really good stuff with Todd. And so I outreached to them, and then I talked to Nick, and we became friends, and we like linked with each other, and then we like started doing stuff together, and then like, oh yeah, we do stuff for other brands, and that's how it all started. And that was literally 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then what happened is I lost my emails because my email address, and this is true, I lost my emails on my Gmail account. Just tips of advice here is don't accidentally delete your stuff like I did. You will never get it back. And so then I just reached out to Nick. I was like, hey, how you doing? I haven't talked to you in like forever. So
yeah, when you told me that happened to you, and I think any small business who lives and breathes Google Sheets and Google Docs and stuff probably would have, the massive heart attack you'd have finding out that you no longer have access to any of those files.
It was so shady.
I guess it can happen. Like you said, like there was really no backup. Like your Google, how is this not backed up?
They're full of shit. They're lying.
Scared.
Like, I thought I was deleting an individual account, like individual user account, like because they weren't on my team no more. That's what I thought I was doing, but no, I was actually deleting the entire account. So I lost email, Google Drive. Like, I lost the first year of like work, which is fine because it was like my first year of stuff, posterity wise.
Really, the way I'd see it is you got a chance to start anew.
But like, so I guess, are you a golf pro? Like, how? Like, what's your story?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh yeah. So I love telling people this all the time. I could tell you how to fix your swing. I couldn't show you how to fix your swing. I golf. Since becoming a part of a golf company, I golf probably less than I ever have before.
You got married and had kids.
Yeah, marriage and kids will do that to you. You prioritize your time a lot more efficiently then. So So I think last year I actually got out. I think I got out 3 times last year to play, and I think one of those times I actually even played 18. I didn't just play a quick 9. So yeah, I think I probably shaved at least 3 or 4 strokes off my handicap just by playing 3 times, not gonna lie. So no, to answer your question, I am not a golf pro by any means. I have a plethora of knowledge at my disposal. Unfortunately, I don't have the credentials to back that knowledge up. So no, I'm not a pro by trade. I'm behind the camera for a reason.
Yeah, so like you're in North Dakota, right?
South Dakota.
South Dakota. I always forget.
Sunny South Dakota, the more temperate of the Dakotas. So it's 20 below 5 times a year instead of 10.
Oh, okay. So you grew up in South Dakota,
Mhm.
and you probably just play golf like everybody else, like with their dads and
No,
stuff
I
like
mean, yeah,
that.
I mean, I played a little bit growing up. Like, I'd play with my dad. I got his old set, back when woods were even woods still. Then, if I can date myself like that, I think the first big head driver. I mean, I don't even remember what brand it was, but I remember thinking, man, I can hit this thing a quarter mile. Anyway, yeah, I didn't play a lot of golf. I didn't play golf in high school or anything like that. I always liked golf, but it was just kind of a hobby more than anything. And then I went off to school and learned how to shoot and edit. I was actually more looking into, because there's a lot of like news stations in the city. So I was thinking probably doing something in news or broadcast. I did some producing while I was at college for the local college newscast, and I enjoyed it. So that was kind of where I was headed. And I met Todd working out, and he just happened to ask me what I was doing that weekend. And at the time, I was doing some college football, just sideline shooting with a camera. And I just told him, I'm running camera for the college team this weekend. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know you did that." And he's like, "Well, I just happen to have a golf company, and we just happen to be in the need for a camera guy." So we exchanged information, talked about, hey, let's meet up and we'll talk a little bit more. And 10 years later, here I am, still doing some golf tips with the same people. So it's not what I envisioned, but it's been a fun ride.
But initially, so when you started though, like, did you guys have the website or no?
Yeah, so I mean, when we first started, what I should say, when I first started, the company was just a few years old. We had our website, which at the time I think we had just launched US Golf TV. I think it was sdgolftv.com. Originally, they started a 30-minute golf program for a regional cable company. That's kind of how the company started, and that was a few years before I was here. And that was pretty much what they had. They had the 30-minute show that they would get some tips for. They go down to the PGA merchandise show in Orlando every year, interview small companies, and just kind of get backstories and learn more about their products. That was kind of how they populated the show, and with tips, some stand-up stuff like that. That was tutorials, stuff like that. Just better golf stuff. I got here, I think, in the third season of that, and that was pretty much the company at the time. It was, and that's where the name US Golf TV comes from. Is it was a TV show with a website. So that's pretty much how.
Initially,
Yeah, that
right?
was that was initially. Yep.
Because you're regional, like, wasn't it like a regional TV
Yep.
show
Yep. We were just a
on
regional
cable? Yeah,
five.
like on
Yeah,
cable,
five. I believe 5-state area. By the
Midwest, right?
Yep,
Central
yep. So
Midwest,
the
Central,
Dakotas, Minnesota, Iowa, and I think parts of Wisconsin
Nebraska.
is what the reach
Oh,
was at the time. And I think they've expanded to, I think, either 6 or 7 states now, but at the time it was only the five. And then we did, by our fifth season, we started branching out and getting a little bit bigger notoriety. We started doing stuff with Fox Sports North, which was kind of more the Ohio through the Great Lakes area. And then we did some stuff. We started doing stuff with Cox, which was more the Gulf states, Florida through Louisiana, and I think they expanded into Oklahoma and actually had some touch points in Arizona and California, I think, after a couple of years. And then Altitude, which was more the Rocky Mountain area. So at the peak of our show, we were doing, I think our reach was about 25 states through
so
about.
like, how many episodes a month, or how many episodes a week was being
Well, being
released?
mind you, our entire show was me. I shot and edited and produced the whole show. So like we weren't
Todd was a
doing, you know, like
star, right? Todd was a
I
star,
was that.
and the,
You will the
and
only
you were
time you'll
behind the
see me.
scenes.
Yeah, the only time you see me is you'll see my name in the production credits at the end, and then there's some bloopers, I think, of my swings. That's about all. That's about all you'd see of
That's
me
enough for
in the show.
you.
Yeah, so it was mostly just Todd, and we'd have an anchor, and you know we did still do like the PGA show stuff and whatnot, and you know stuff like that. We do product reviews and stuff like that. So we only did, I think, 10 or 12 episodes a year throughout the heart of the season. We'd start like late April, early May, and then we'd finish late July, early August, depending on how the seasonality, when the weather would clear up enough for us to actually get some content shot.
Were you guys traveling a lot? Or were you guys shooting in
No.
South
So
Dakota?
the only real traveling we did was we'd go down to the PGA show in January. That was that, and we'd
Yeah.
get the heart of our content from that. And that's where we do a lot of our partnerships with smaller companies. That was kind of the cool thing about what we were doing is we kind of offered a platform for these small companies that didn't have a big budget to like run a commercial, or, you know, I mean, at this time there wasn't a lot of
YouTube.
ad spend or anything. Yeah, YouTube
Nobody
was
was
real,
little. Like nobody.
YouTube
Yeah,
at
it
the time
wasn't.
was still, you know, cat videos and chocolate rain and stuff like that. You know, like people weren't developing businesses around YouTube. You know, so
No.
like
Yeah.
even at that time, we were barely doing anything on YouTube. So, yeah, so we just we'd provide an opportunity for those smaller companies to, you know, buy a little airtime for us to, you know, give them a little notoriety, and essentially it would just help us pay to get ourselves in those bigger markets. So I mean that was pretty much the long and short of the show.
So like you offered services that smaller brands at the time could not do themselves or figure
Right.
out, or
Right.
you know, and then say, well, you know, essentially you're doing a 30-minute show, and
Mm-hmm.
part of that show you'll include that product
Yep.
potentially, and then they'd pay whatever fee it would cost it. But then like, hey, you're part of a syndicated show across the United States. It will be seen. Todd will use it out, whatever, do a
Mm-hmm.
review, whatever it might be, and they're like, okay, cool, because that's what we can afford, right?
Yep.
And then we can
Yeah.
give you the exposure because we can't
Mm-hmm.
afford going to Golf Channel, right, or
Right.
whatever.
Right. Right. And well, and the nice thing was with a lot of those companies, they had, you know, they'd spend money on a nice website. Well, they didn't have any video to put on their website, right? So we would shoot and edit and produce this nice video of an interview, and then they could use it how they wanted as well. So like it wasn't like we had exclusivity to that content. We would allow them to
Yeah.
put it out on their own channels. So, you know, they a lot of them, they would use that as a video to populate their website so that they had something, you know, because video was really taking off at the time, and not a lot of people.
Nobody had it. I
Yeah,
mean,
nobody
that's the
had it. And it
thing.
was expensive to produce it.
This is pre-influencer. This is
Right,
this
right,
is the 5 years before influencers, and all you had was traditional methods of
right.
promotion.
You either got, you know, a local regional sports program that you'd maybe advertise to, or I mean, if you had the means, you'd advertise through like a Golf Digest
Yeah, but who
or
does? That's the thing, right? Like
and one of those.
nobody
I
does.
mean, those. I mean, that was the fun and kind of sad thing when you go to the PGA shows. Like you see rows
Cool
and
product,
rows and rows of
cool stuff.
entrepreneurial
Yeah.
spirit, like just all these people who had a vision and an idea to, and had the where like the guts to give this a shot. Well, I mean, those boots, I think those boots were
Minimum
five,
10
ten thousand
grand.
dollars just
They're
to
minimum
get
10
there,
grand.
you know.
That's
And
that's the thing, right? Because like that's one thing. My dad had a training aid I told you about. We still have it, you know.
Mhm.
But like that's what I learned from him when at a younger age, where like the chips are really stacked against you, right? Because you there's a false notion that if you go to the PGA show that you've made it, right? Like that you just that's it. People think that, and it's a 1% chance it's gonna happen, and so. You know, I saw that with my dad's company in like 2000, or 2001 he went, and he's like, yeah, it was not what I thought, right?
Mhm.
And he didn't get a booth. He shared a booth with somebody, or I don't know, I think it was with golftrainings.com. And it's funny because like it's sad. It really is sad because they spend so much money, and these things are really cool, and where the product is really innovative, and it's just the next step is to get it over the hill, right? To actually
Yeah.
like get it out there, and like the stack, like I said, like it's impossible. I mean,
Yeah.
you got more money, right? Which you might not have
Yeah.
all any money because you just spent all your money buying the first 100 of those products or
Hmm.
buying a booth at the PGA show. It's
Hmm.
and I think like that's what I love about what we do is like I love small and mid-sized brands because they're the ones that are doing stuff, in my opinion, and
Yeah.
they're the ones that like I don't know. I love watching them grow, right?
Right.
Be a
Right.
part of that, without taking
Right.
advantage of them.
Yeah. Well, and like, and that's what I meant by the fun, but also the sad part is, you have this great product, but once you get in your 10 by 10 and you're in rows of other 10 by 10s of other people with interest, like it's so hard to get any sort of traction in a place like that, and a lot of people that go down to the PGA show, like they're there for the experience and they're not capitalizing on that potential that they have in front of them. And the sad thing was like, the next year, 90% of those companies weren't there the
I'm not
next
there.
year.
Can't afford it.
If you saw somebody there 2 or 3 years in a row, they probably were actually doing pretty well. But also at the same time, a lot of them probably realized, well, I can probably make more bang for my buck doing something else on my own.
I could take 10 or 15 grand, run ads on Google or Facebook and
Hmm.
make money from that instead of being seen at a
Hmm.
convention. And I saw people like when I went 2 years ago, like some of my friends were pissed because like they thought they were getting one thing and then they got something else and they're in the wrong area, which means they'll never be seen, right? Like, and
Yeah.
like my buddy was like, oh, I spent $8,000, and it was literally 10 by 10. He said he spent $8,000 for it, and it was like this. It was like the saddest thing. He was
Hmm.
pissed too. Like, what?
Hmm.
I'll never do this again.
Right.
And the one
Right.
thing I learned too is like, I don't know. It's good to have a booth if you can afford it and you can man it. But like, if you're the head of a company or whoever your mover and shaker is, those person needs to be walking around talking to people in their own booths because they're not just going to find you. It's like a square
Yeah.
mile of booths, right?
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
um, so that's kind of cool that like you guys were one of the first to really do that. I would think that
Hmm.
I've heard of,
Yeah. When
before.
we were doing a lot of it at the beginning, like we weren't even like it was just content filling, right? So we weren't even charging. It was just filling content for the
TV and
show.
content, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it costs us money to get down there as well, and we kind of found, like you have to.
No, I understand.
So yeah, like
Totally. Like,
and like
it's not
for what
free.
people,
It's
for
not
what
free for
people get.
you. Somebody has
Yeah.
to pay for it, either
Right.
you or them, and it's not a free trip.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Well, and I don't want to downplay like the potential you can have at the PGA show. It was I think a lot of people just didn't understand how much work it like they thought that the work was getting there. The work started once you were there. Like that's the ones that were successful. They're the ones that really knew how to hustle while they were down there
you
and
have to
and
hustle.
make it
You have
work.
to
And because
hustle.
if you're just waiting for people to see you,
Yeah, you
so
just stand in
is
your booth
everybody
like
else.
this, like, come see
Yeah.
my stuff. It's like, there's a million other training aids here, dude. Like,
Hmm.
why is yours any better than that guy's? Like,
Hmm.
and then you start seeing funny, like, people, it's like a carnival. That's the best I can describe it.
Hmm.
Like, not all of it, but like, some booths are like literally, they're trying to draw people into the product if they're not already known,
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I love, like, I was gonna go this year, but then with COVID, like, I got COVID and I couldn't go.
Hmm.
Um, but when I went, like, to me, I love the aspect of like, I've built relationships over the last 4 years with everybody that like it was cool to actually see them in person. It was like seeing family, right? Because
Hmm.
we've talked so much on the phone, we've done projects together, right? And it's like, oh my
Right.
God, you're a real person, not just like somebody I talked to on the phone or
Right.
via Zoom. And that's what I enjoyed is like
Hmm.
just that aspect of it. But
Right.
so then, what did you guys do? Just go to booths, talk to people, see stuff,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
then
a lot of it we do ahead of time, right? So like we didn't want to go down there and
you have the camera light on, and be like, "Hi, talk to me about your product."
right. Well, no, I mean
Yeah,
we'd interview them while we were down there, right? So that was our way
yeah.
to interview everybody in the same spot, right? And then we could show them at the show, give them some notoriety that way. But also like they're there to sell their product. We didn't want to be like trying to sell
In a
them at
way.
the same time,
When I
right?
was there, it was really cool because when I was there, like I was talking to my friends who own Desert Fox Golf, the caddies that hold your phone, and I was in their booth, and then Matt from Mr. Short Game came
Oh yeah,
over, like walked by, and I was like, and then I didn't really even pay attention, and then my buddy's like, "That's Matt," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, it is," and like and he's just carrying. It was crazy because this was before I started doing YouTube, and I was like, I started talking to him like, "Hey, like." We became friends. So my friend, we became acquaintances. I was like, "Hey, what
right.
camera are you using? What is that?"
Yeah,
He's like, "Oh, this is my go-to." And it wasn't like it was like an older. I still have it. It's like an older camcorder style. He's
yeah,
like, "This is the best camera. It shoots in 4K, and it's small, and it's light, and it like does the job, and it has a good battery. You don't need an A7 III or like And it was like he was building content, and it was really cool to watch that because that's essentially what you were doing, but on a different scale, right? Where
yeah,
like, I don't think a lot of YouTubers take that. Some are starting to again, but I don't think known YouTubers are there to make content. They're there to be seen, right?
hmm
Or to
hmm
like participate, but not like create. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And
That's
that's a
why,
guy.
and that's what I think was really cool. Like Matt was creating content, right? Like
Right,
there's a
right.
couple other like smaller YouTubers that were creating. I've seen them in the last on YouTube this summer or this
hmm
winter during the show, like making content. I'm like, that's what you need to go do. This is go make the content. Like
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, I mean, like, and look, there's a guy who gets it. Like, his Mr. Short Game. Like, he's
he's just
he's
brilliant.
he's dialed in. Like, I like his stuff. He
He's
does a good
cool. He's
job,
super cool.
and he's also entertaining though. But he's informative, and that's awesome. So, yeah, like for what we do, like we're instructional based. But like if you did like the club type stuff, what better place to do all your content in one spot? I mean, you're going to have everybody down there. Granted, some years, like I think one of the last years we were there, TaylorMade wasn't there. Like some of those big ones might not be there because I mean, they got to be spending $250,000 for their booths. Their booths are
Oh
massive.
man, those are
And
massive,
that's just for
massive.
the real estate, not
It's like
alone
a
the
hotel.
100
It's so
people
big.
to staff and the people that have to set up 2 days before and two days after to tear down. But I mean, you can any cool thing that's up and coming. You go to the innovator section. That was one of my favorite ones. Was the low key little innovator section where there was like I don't know 30 featured products where like you'd see something that's like okay I can see that we're gonna see that here in a couple of years still like that or these guys will probably they could be something but it's just a matter like those are the real fun ones to see because then a few years later when they're established you're like I remember when they were first at the show and like you didn't hear anything about them but you could tell like that like they knew it they
They
knew it.
saw something. They had
Yeah,
something. Like
yeah.
yeah, like like oh, they're gonna be big. Like so. Then when did you guys start focusing? Well, I guess you. I'm gonna ask this question. So you were creating this content for real television, right?
hmm
Like real TV,
hmm
not YouTube. And then were you taking the same videos and then starting to upload them to like YouTube or at the same time, or when did you start moving into YouTube? Because you guys got a pretty big YouTube channel. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. So we, I mean, we were uploading stuff on YouTube, but not with like any sort of
no intent.
posts or like it was like, well, we have the content, we might as well just put it up there. But like we weren't doing any sort of tagging or descriptions or anything like that. It was just US Golf TV interviews, the putter wizard or something like that at the PGA show. Like, who's searching for that, right? So like
Totally.
it was just like, oh, here's this YouTube thing that people are doing.
It's a platform.
Might
It's
as
just
well
we should
put,
upload
yeah,
it on there so we might get more views.
right, right. So like we would do stuff like that. I think we started a channel unofficially like in 2013 or something like that. So I mean, we'd already been doing the PGA show stuff for a few years before we even put anything on YouTube. Um, so yeah, it was just kind of like we'd have some tips like that we'd have like our on the lesson T segment where it was just like a quick minute and a half tip on like hey there's a quick ball position tip for you, things like that. That was basically what we'd throw on YouTube because it was already sections in our TV show, but like majority of our focus was still on the TV.
Which really really easy for you to edit, right? Because you just like chop
Yeah,
that
because
part out, upload it. I mean,
yep.
right?
Yep, exactly. It was self-contained. Obviously, its first purpose was not for YouTube, so like it was, a little shorter probably than like now what you'd want, which is probably 8 or 10 minutes, or I mean, if you can keep somebody around for 20 minutes, obviously that's great too. But like the 2-minute videos really aren't going to take off much. So, and they were.
So
they were
when
just
did you start making a conscious effort at it though, not just posting old stuff?
It'd be probably late 2017, early 2018, I think is
When I
about
first
the
met
time.
you around
Yeah,
that same
yeah,
time.
that was about, yeah. It was probably a little before then. That's when we started to like, okay, this YouTube thing does have some merit, and let's
Yeah.
let's see what we can do with it. And that's about when we started to like, do some more research into it and do some like, hey, people actually want to learn how to golf online, and hey, that's free eyeballs. Then you don't have to fly down to Orlando to get that audience, So
So what is your most of the content you have? Like, what is your most popular content? Just Todd's instructions,
oh yeah,
instructional
by a
videos.
landslide. Like
It would have to be.
we're almost entirely like, if you go to our YouTube channel, like it's almost entirely instruction based. Like that's
Are you guys testing? Are you guys testing with video? Like, do you put something up and say, "Oh," or you kind of know at this point, like, okay, this is a video that people
yeah.
will
I mean,
like.
yeah, you
It's based
always
on
test.
instruction. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be silly not to test in some form or fashion. More of it is the structure, I guess. But like, we know our nuts and bolts. Like we're instruction based. Like that's our wheelhouse. Like we're not really interested in other segments, I guess, and like we wouldn't do it justice anyway. So like
That's the
that.
thing too. I feel like with YouTube, because it's owned by Google, is that like they want to keep you in your wheelhouse, right? So like if you're an instructional channel, like
Mhm.
that is what's going to do good, right? If you start doing product reviews, they'd be like, "What the hell is this?" Like it
Yeah.
wouldn't do well as well, especially with your subscriber base. They're not going to want to watch it. Like it's almost like you have to, I don't know, stay in your lane. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. I
I
mean,
think
like
so.
your audience will let you know what you want. If you do a video and nobody watches it, that wasn't something you need to do more of.
Yeah, or YouTube, like,
Consequently,
because
the
YouTube
video.
tells you stuff. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I've learned a lot with the analytics. Like, it tells you, like, if not like, oh, did somebody watch it? Like, that's
Mhm.
part of it. But there's like so many other little facets. Like, how long were they on the video for? When did
Mhm.
they drop off?
Well, how did
Like,
they find it?
how do they even find it? They could tell. YouTube will tell you. They'll say, oh, it found you from search. It found you from a website. It found you
Mhm.
from Google. It found you from. They'll tell you. Like, it breaks it all
Right.
down. You're like,
Right.
oh, like the key is just getting those early numbers really like as
Yeah.
high as you can, like the
Mhm.
impression, then your impressions will go up. But so then like so just so you guys know, so Todd Kolb is an instructor. He's been an instructor for how long? Like forever,
Yeah.
right?
Over 25 years now. Yep.
Yeah, he's
Yep.
really well respected. Like, so Todd's like the star of the show, right? So Todd is the one who's giving instruction on pretty much how to do anything, like when it comes to golf. You guys are filming in South Dakota mainly, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Does he have a performance center, or is it like a golf course you guys film at, or what's your normal thing?
So yeah, he's still partnered with his the academy, the Sanford Power Golf Academy. That's here in Sioux Falls. They partnered up a few years ago. Before then, it was his own academy, but he's still involved with them as well. But and then he helps our stuff as well. So yeah, he's the in fact, if anybody comes on to watch this podcast and they see US Golf TV, they'll probably be like, well, where's Todd? Who's this guy?
Yeah, because Todd,
So
yeah.
they're gonna know. They're gonna definitely know if they've heard of us. They're gonna know Todd before they know Nick. So
Well, what I think too, what I think is cool is that you guys are very diversified, right? So like
Mhm.
you have your YouTube channel. Are you
Mhm.
still on live TV, or is that a part of your?
No, in fact, last year was our last year. We had scaled back a few years ago. We started scaling back, and then last year I think was our
I
last.
feel like live TV is dying. I really just
Well, it's
do.
not so much dying. It's like we've repurposed ourselves so much that like it doesn't make as much sense anymore.
It's so
Um,
much time and energy for you guys to do it, and the returns are not there like it used to
well, and
be.
there's a lot more overhead because then you're paying for airtime, and
No, it's
there's
true.
then you have to get sponsors for the show to and like it's a lot more outside factors where we've become a lot more
Self-sufficient, like
yes,
self,
yeah, that's a
which is
good word.
like that's the key. I
Mhm.
feel like with anything is like to get to that point where you're not relying on outside influences. You just do your thing,
Right.
and people appreciate what you're creating, right?
Hmm.
So with the so right now you have the not sorry, podcast. You have the YouTube channel. You have this website. Now the website primarily has tons of instruction, like tons and tons and
Yeah.
tons and tons and tons of
Hmm.
instruction, like written content and
Hmm.
video,
Yep.
right? With whatever it
Yep.
is. And then you guys started moving into hard goods, right? Like in the last, like used with training aids and stuff like that, right? It's just like,
Yeah, so we do want to launch a few training aids eventually too. Our big wheelhouse, like you said, is the instruction. So we have a lot of digital products. One that's really resonated lately is our vertical line swing. That's going to be for your more experienced golfers, golfers that are, they might have a bit of a bad back. The traditional instruction of a lot of rotation, a lot of restricting hip turn and stuff like that is beneficial and great if you have a lot of flexibility in rotation, so you can
who does it
restrict your hip
anymore?
turn. You can rely a lot more on your body versus, okay, well, what if you have a bad knee? What if you have a replaced hip? What if you slipped a disc in your back? What if you've had a torn labrum? I think your labrum's in your shoulder. Hurt your shoulder. We'll say that to cover our bases.
I think it's your
But we have
scrotum.
those things like that. I mean, that's it's we've like it's almost a forgotten part of the uh, golf industry is the person who has it.
Can't.
I mean, I'm not old
I
by
literally
any
had the
means.
same conversation with somebody 2 days ago
Yeah,
about his best content, right? And he literally said the same thing. Literally,
yeah,
like different, not what you guys are having here,
right.
but pretty much the same conversation. Which I never thought about it because I don't do instruction, and I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, it's like it's so stupid, right? Because it's completely underserved when you
Hmm.
would think that like probably a majority of golfers are having those issues, right? So
Right,
it's like
right. And I'm
tailor
not
the
that old
content,
myself, but like I'm not at my peak physical ability either. So like,
whatever.
you think I haven't learned anything from that instruction? I mean, I'll do some of the stuff to give myself more rotation. And wow, this for
This
somebody who never
works.
plays, I can see the results even. So I mean, um, I get it because like Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy sell the magazine, and they're the guys that are seeing on Sunday. So like that it makes business sense to emulate those swings, but not everybody can actually do it. So
So what's the vertical line swing? What is that? That's like a new method that
yeah,
Todd has
it's
developed.
it's a body friendly golf swing for your more experienced average golfer. The guy who has the limited flexibility, the guy who can't create X factor, or if I'm using the terms correctly. I'm getting a little out of my realm of
Yeah, you
experience.
don't have the same abilities as you once did due to
Right, right,
age or by whatever reason, health.
right.
Um, but it's kind of good too because if you're a new golfer, you know anything. So
Mhm.
like, if this is a body friendly way of doing it, then like
If you're a
you
new
haven't
golfer,
you
you
haven't
use
been
the phone
mistrained yet.
too.
So it's almost
Yeah.
like try this. This could be the way you might want to swing your club.
Right. You're not creating like weird wrist angle. Like you're not getting that Dustin Johnson wrist angle. Like if I could do that, I would, believe me. But I'm pretty sure I would probably be wearing a wrist brace the next day if I was getting all that flexion going. So it looks awesome on
Yeah.
TV. I'll give him that, but I don't know if I can do that. But
So then, what are you guys working on this year? Like what's coming down the pipe?
so
Anything?
we just actually started a follow up to the vertical line swing, our vertical line short game system, which is more
Smart.
geared for So it's some of the similar concepts, obviously, to the vertical line swing, built into more of the short game stuff. So it's all simplifying the game for people, right? So I mean, this you don't have to be an older golfer to learn a lot from this stuff, especially. So it's chipping, it's puttering, and it's bunkers. Probably the scariest shot for the average golfer is a greenside bunker because you don't know what you're going to do with it, right? So we got that, and then we're working on a series to help golfers fix their slice as well, which hopefully we'll be launching here soon in the spring. So those are
So when
the
you guys do series, like what do you do? Do you like do like a teaser or like something for YouTube, or do you do like some partial instruction on YouTube and you say, hey, if
yeah.
you
I
want the full
mean, we
course,
build
check
a
out the
lot of
site?
yeah. So we're not gonna try and create something that like we're not already teaching, right? So we're not gonna go and um, teach people how to do something that we wouldn't also teach on our YouTube platform. So a lot of the instruction and stuff, you're gonna probably get concepts and tidbits from like
Yeah, but not a real course, not like
right,
this is
right.
how
So
you do
and
it.
and
More of a
that's kind of the value that we found in creating a course is like
yeah.
when you give somebody a tip on YouTube, it's great and you can learn a lot from it, but like there's not as much structure. Like if you take the course,
Practice
you're
what to
creating
do step by step. Like
right,
it,
right.
yeah,
Whereas with the
it's
course,
you,
like you're creating a template. Like two golfers can learn the same swing, but like because one of them has, let's say, some knee issues, or one of them can't get as much extension in their arms, like that learning that core template is great. But like when you do it on YouTube, like if you're that's kind of like the gift and the curse of having a lot of following is like you can't resonate with 160,000 people at the same exact time. So like giving them a course that gives them a template can help them like learn the process, and then okay, from that you can custom tailor like okay, I understand all these concepts now.
well, it's
Now
hard to fully learn. I feel like
right, right.
it's like my iceberg analogy, right? Like it's a tip of the iceberg. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's YouTube, whatever that tip is, right? And then everything below is like, oh, if you really want to do this, like it's like learning any kind of skill. Like you have to have a
Mm-hmm.
process. It's not just
Right,
like, oh, I
right,
watched this video, because you have a million questions after that, or am I doing
right,
that right? Like you have no idea, you
right,
know.
right.
So then,
Yeah.
when is that coming out? The short game
So
videos.
we just launched the short game this well, I guess now last month because it was February, so just a few weeks ago, and then the slice stuff hopefully will be coming out early spring as well. So got a lot of that's the nice thing about what we found with YouTube is that people do want more information, and like obviously you wouldn't do it if you didn't think people would want it. So we're finding that people resonate really well with the concept of a more body friendly swing, and it just makes sense to help them with a more full blown course.
What's cool about you guys, like that you guys are like true instruction video. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, I mean, Todd's a pro. Todd has a
Hmm.
school. Todd's been teaching forever.
Hmm.
You came from a place where your traditional methods of giving on video on TV, and then like today as YouTube grows, like everyone thinks they're an instructor now, right? And it's like, not saying they're not instructors in real
No,
life.
no,
It's just that
I know
like,
what you mean.
but it's like you guys are poised for a really good place because
Did I lose you, Paul?
Sorry, something happened on the stream.
People
Did you answer
probably
my question? I have no idea. What was the question? Oh,
right. I heard something about poised, and then it was
the streaming system like shut down. That was weird,
yeah.
or like rebooted. I don't know. It's a weird piece of
All
crap.
I know is you were talking about how awesome I was, I think. So we'll
I was
just
thinking
pick it
how
up from
awesome, and
there.
yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. I was saying you were poised. You guys were poised because how many to really grow your channel because you already
Mhm.
have the things and the foundation's been laid, right?
Yeah.
Essentially.
Right. Right.
So I mean, I can see for you guys like to continue growing your channel like you have been, and then just come out with like you said, like digital content that like is extra, right? Like
Mhm.
more information,
Mhm.
more of a course driven, you know,
Right. Right. And there's so many. We get so many people asking one for more information, obviously, but also like they want more instruction catered to them, right? And like it'd be in a perfect world, we'd find a way to get 100,000 people in a room and teach them all. But the truth of the matter is that just doesn't work. So being able to offer more ways to or more touch points to get the instruction that they're looking for, obviously it makes sense, but also it bodes well for the consumer as well to find more of what they're looking for that way. So
no, I mean it's really cool. I mean, you guys, like I said, you guys. I mean, I've known you since the beginning, like for reals. Like I probably talked to you in like I think my first article was written in January. And I talked to you in like March of that year. So I mean, it's not that long.
mhm.
Um, well, I appreciate you being on the show. You guys need to check out US Golf TV. Like I said, they're everywhere. I mean, you can go to US Golf TV. Was it dot TV, right? What your URL is?
USGolfTV.com. Yep,
What's your
just
URL?
.com.
Dot
We're
com.
we're we're the
I couldn't
original
remember.
still. Yep,
Okay, you're OG. And
yep.
then also check out their YouTube channel because they have tons and tons and tons of content, for instruction. And I don't know, it's just cool to finally get you on the show because we've known each other for so long.
Yeah, no, this is fun. I appreciate it. I appreciate and like you said, I mean, it's kind of cool because I think a lot of people, well, not necessarily golf, but just in general, like we're in a similar industry, so some people might look at us as competition, but like we're
I
we're
know.
we're here to just. I mean, this is cool. I mean, you'll get to learn more about companies you've heard of, maybe, and I think that people like to hear the backstories behind stuff. So it's cool to be able to share our story, and it's cool that you're allowing people the ability to do that.
No, I'm glad you're on the show today. So you guys definitely need to check out usgolftv.com. Check out their YouTube channel, and hopefully we'll have them back on the show in the future and talk more golf.
You bet. Hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, hit his subscribe button and mine if you like to.
Yeah. Well, while we're on the channel,
I'll
there
see
it
you
is.
guys
Hit it.
later.
See ya. Thanks, Paul.
Bye.